Hello friends, welcome back to the SoloPromoter YouTube channel, and I'm very honored to welcome my good friend and guest, Mr. Chad Olson. Chad, welcome back to the channel.
Thank you, Grant, and I'm very honored to be here tonight.
Well, this was your idea. Yesterday, we're recording this on Monday, May 4th, Star Wars Day, so may the 4th be with you all.
Yes.
And yesterday was the Road to GalactiCon event for Phil Singer Games. And during the middle of the event, I just got a text message from Chad, and Chad's like, hey, we should do a reaction to this. We should sort of cover the things that were announced. And I said, let's do it. This sounded like a great idea.
Kind of like a sports post-game show.
Exactly. We were going to try to do it after the event, but the timing just didn't work out. So we've now had about 24 hours to let it all marinate in there and see what it is. Just starting out, what did you think of the event? How did you think it went?
I thought it was really nice. I wasn't able to join for any of the tournaments, but I heard you won one. Is that correct?
That is the other Grant, Grant G.
Oh no! Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to salt your wounds.
No. It's good. It's good. Yeah, I'm trying to think of who I had in everything. I know I had Keel, who's one of the new Secret History aliens. And then I didn't do the Indies one, but I had Keel, and then I had Boogie Woogie Man Jimmy Valiant in that tournament. And I think I covered for somebody else, but then I handed it off to somebody else who had lost. Anyway. But yeah, like Hillbilly Jim in the tournament I did went all the way to the end of.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Hillbilly Jim was unique. So.
Yes. Well, very fitting since Cousin Luke was announced yesterday as the tournament card. But
exactly.
Overall, I thought it was a great event because Tom just, I don't know if somebody gave him truth serum or something before the convention. I mean, he just kind of, he normally plays it really close to the vest, and he just everything, And I just, I asked in the chat, hey, you want to tell us a few names of the people on the cover? And he, I figured he wouldn't gave us everybody's name. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so the big thing was he released the cover of the next game edition, and this is going to be Multiverse 3 Crime Stoppers 2. It sounds like a sports game, but I think it's just Multiverse 3 The Crime Stoppers. Or I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll see what the thing is, but this is the cover. As you've been in the game longer than I have. And you were around, on Uncharted Territory, you talk about you're going through all the promoters and, the Club Galactica things and all those things. And, there's some discussion about you used to have to wait to see what any spoilers were or any teasers or anything. So what did you think about this where he was just like, yeah, I'm going to just start telling you everything about the new set?
I mean, I think it was pretty cool that, especially, I feel like the past few years, he's really kind of kept it close to the vest with things. But yeah, back in the day, as we were talking about, I wasn't on the podcast because of course I was at a conference, but when they were reviewing Promoter 3, that brought back a lot of memories with, that was the first time we had two editions released at the same time with Glass 27.9 and the I can't remember what it's called. Revolution 2096. And getting that and seeing that flyer, and you're just like, oh my gosh, there's just so much going through your head. And, but then, there isn't a message board to talk about it. You might have been pen pals with a couple of kids or something. So you're snail mailing stuff. But one of the things that I don't know if anybody picked it up on the promoter review last week, there was a typo in that original brochure. So it said, instead of Janus the Overman, it said Janus and Overman. So some of us thought those were two separate characters. And I remember somebody, it might have been Dave Simonak, thought they were coming in as a tag team, and it kind of, built up some steam with that. And then it's like, oh, it's one guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We live in pretty old age now. So that's when people, played them not spoils them like, you don't know how it was.
Yeah. Yeah, because even when I started playing, I started playing in around 2000. That's when I ordered my maybe like 98, between 98 and 2000. I forget exactly when, but that's when I
Okay.
kind of ordered my first thing. And then, there was already the guest book, there was already the message board thing. So there was already that online thing where people could talk. But so I didn't really, I didn't have all the sets, so even though they had already been released years before I started playing, I could just see the little descriptions on the website of like, oh, this person comes in
Right.
and this shock follows shock. That was a favorite phrase
Yep.
of Tom's. So anyway, so yeah, and I think I'm pretty well on record that I don't like spoilers. Like I'm fine with teasers. Like if this is the teaser, but I don't want the spoilers, and I kind of like this too. I thought this was a lot of
Yeah.
fun to get so much info.
Yeah, it was a treat, I mean, because sometimes they'll have me proofread the cards just to make sure that there's, no errors or anything. Um, but most of the time, especially the champion stuff and even with the indie stuff, I don't really know what's going on. I don't know who's going to be in an indie set, I don't
Right.
know who's going to be in Tom's set. And if they have me proofread the cards, then it's like, okay, I see all these guys. I don't Sometimes I can figure out, if they have a Titan drop or a Gladiator pile driver, okay, I know what teams they're on. But then that actually makes me more excited. Okay, who are these guys? So I want to see the book,
Right.
and take a look at that. But yeah, I'm usually fine without, like, I don't do movie spoilers at all or anything ahead of time. And it was kind of fun though yesterday. It was just a kind of unique atmosphere and fun
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I really liked it. Well, let's get your opinions on this cover. What are your thoughts on these characters? This is it's the Killers 4 that are on the
Yep.
cover. And I'm trying to see because I want to make sure that I get their names right. Untouchable. This is going from the top left to the bottom right. Untouchable, Hunter,
Right.
Thinker, the Leader, and Freeze. So
hmm
what did you think of this cover?
Well, I mean, as you can see behind me, I'm a kind of a comic book fan too. I have my wrestling themed comic books behind me. So I like this cover. It's a cool kind of, throwback to the 60s, the era that Tom was talking about, and the era that he grew up reading comics in. So even though the Crime Stoppers original set was maybe a little far-fetched in how I like my wrestling, um, I, I get his passion for it, and I think he wrote that right after Stan Lee passed away, so you could see it in that set and in its writing. So I think it's cool instead of having this group that just showed up for, I think it was just one set, right, or
Right.
maybe two,
Yeah.
and then depart. It's like, okay, let's pick up their story. I think it's kind of cool to revisit some of that.
Yeah, and it's fun because I mean Tom has said, unless I've misheard, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but
Hmm.
he said that they're gonna the GWF wrestlers, those who make the jump and go to this new place.
Right,
It's an alternate universe, but it is Earth that they said, but it's like an Earth-like planet, but in like the 50s and
right,
60s. So it's this weird thing where it's
yeah.
another universe, but also back in time.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminded me a lot of the Fantastic Four movie that came out last summer,
Yeah.
and how that was set back in an earlier era. Definitely you could see kind of the influence and the vibe from that.
Do you have
But
a
this artwork all looks great.
Yeah? Do you have a standout character that you like in this artwork?
Um, I kind of like Hunter. I mean, he looks pretty jacked there. But I mean, they're all good. I mean, the Thinker looks like this really diabolical kind of nerdy guy, though. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, the Thinker is my favorite. I think it's like I'm kind of wondering. It's like, oh, is he going to be a manager or is he going to be Well, I'm sure he'll
Hmm.
have some sort of wrestling stats. I would assume, but
Right.
what would those stats be? What's his little box that he has on his wrist, like the button with little
Oh yeah.
buttons on it or something? You're like, what does that do?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, he's my favorite out of there, and um, on the Discord, I was kind of speculating like what is Hunter holding in his hand? Like is that a little blackjack
Right.
thing or
Hmm.
so that's yeah, it's interesting. And
I
I'm
mean,
also wondering if maybe he has something in the other hand and they removed it just for the cover. I don't know, like cuz the way he's got
oh
something in
sure.
one hand and
Hmm.
something in another, like, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I was super excited about this.
Well, and I think it'll be interesting too. And I think there's a little bit of confusion on the Discord because I thought Tom said that Skull's not there, but he's there in a different form,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
right? So he'll be involved. He just won't present himself as the Skull that we know and loved from the last set. So
Right.
yeah, I need to dig that set out. I haven't had a chance yet and just kind of into it because that's not a set I revisited. But I think it's exciting. There'll be two covers or two handbooks like there were last time, right? And
Yep.
I thought that was a pretty cool way to do things.
And also, and again, I could have misheard what he said too, because I was furiously taking notes. But he also said that they're going to jump back to the point where the original heroes, the Crime Stoppers, were taken out of the battle. So it sounds like when they arrive, it's going to be right at that moment. And then that it's kind of also the question of, the last time we saw, what didn't Endgame and Cosmic Woman
That's
disappear at the same time? So is Endgame going to
yeah,
come back or?
that's what I that's what I was thinking too. I like I said, I haven't read that stuff in a while, but I thought they disappeared together,
Yeah.
right? So is Endgame back there?
Yeah. So it's gonna be really really fun, and I do like that he said that none of the Myth World's gods, as much as we love them, will be
Mhm.
going to this. They won't be making this jump, and they said some of the GWF people will stay back in Myth Worlds too,
Right,
Myth Worlds
right.
as well, not to be
Yes.
confused with the set. um, so that's interesting because the roster for me has gotten very big. I know I've said that a few times. And so
hmm
I'm hoping that
hmm
maybe this slims down things, because a lot of the members of the roster are the Mythworlds folks. So
Right.
we've had two sets of Mythworlds. So maybe with none of them I think wasn't there only, I guess there was two that were sort of updates from GWF people.
hmm
I'm blanking on Demonicus and um, Snake Healer was just a change of a gimmick.
hmm
That's from Titan Power. So, but
Right.
maybe I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see. I'm excited for it. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people who, even though they haven't said this, just based on chats on the discussion board recently, they might be okay if Endgame stays behind.
Yeah, yeah.
I or no, 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 not Endgame,
Godsend,
not Endgame.
godsend.
Godsend,
Yeah,
Godsend.
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Well, it wasn't it. Godsend
We could
was
use a
who.
vacation.
Godsend was who brought the Crime Stoppers to the GWF, I think.
Oh, okay.
So he may still be
Probably.
involved here,
Yeah.
but who knows? We'll see. I'm excited for this. I'm excited for teasers to start, so we can. I assume
hmm
that the teasers might likely be the Killers 4. We might week by week learn a
Right,
little bit about them because they're the ones that have been sort of announced. So
right.
yeah,
It'll be interesting to see though how many other people from that era and that universe are presented in there, because we have the original Crime Stoppers, we have these four. Is it going to be more folks? You're not, unless you have a GWF person have a revision or a gimmick change or something, right? There's not going to be anybody new affiliated with the GWF, so you could have a set that's all citizens of Myth World 3.
right. Unless Tom does like what he did last year, and all of a sudden there's Pegasus is here. Like
Right.
for Heracles. It was like, oh yeah,
Right.
Heracles was stranded out here. So then Pegasus is here. And he could.
Yep.
Who knows?
Anything can happen.
Anything could happen. Well, that was the big Champions of the Galaxy announcement. Moving on was we're getting Women of the Indies 2026
Yep.
as the next indie set, and the first name was Fallon Gray. I think that's how you say it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I had not heard of her. Have you heard of her?
Mhm. I think I'd only heard of her because she recently signed a WWE ID contract, and like Zeke or Ty said yesterday, she's very young, um, maybe 20. So they must be pretty high on her to sign someone with, pretty limited pro wrestling experience, but she probably had some kind of athletic background that appealed to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've recently gone in all in on the indie stuff and have been trying to
Hmm.
get a copy of each card that has been released.
Yep.
So I will for sure be picking this up, even if not necessarily I know any of the people who were in it, but yeah, it's
Right.
happy to support. And every once in a while, there's somebody like going
Hmm.
through all these
And
indie
I think,
cards, that I have in the past couple of weeks with ordering so many sets and filling in the gaps. Um,
hmm
there's a lot of people who are like, "Oh, I want to bring this person in for a championship wrestling for that's the Indies Fed I run." I would like, "Oh, I should just bring them
yeah,
in
yep,
for, like a couple matches, And so I'm always open to new
yeah,
Indies folks.
yeah. And with the indies cards, I keep my cards in these two pocket binders. And with my legends, my champions, I have them card art up. But with the indies folks, I don't know them by sight, so I have them flipped over so I can read their names. And then as I'm flipping through, I'm like, oh, wait, that's Gunther under Walter. So
Yeah.
it kind of gets you excited. We got a lot of talent that we've brought in through some of these indie promotions over the years who are now up on the big stage in WWE.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty like and AEW, like there's the whole main roster
Yeah,
of AEW is signed.
absolutely.
So
Yes.
excellent stuff. And then the super exciting announcement, someone who I had hoped would be signed for a long time, just for my WWF style fed that I run, and that is Tito Santana will be in the Hall of Fame. The TNT Hall of Fame set 7 that will be released. So yeah, super excited to have Tito Santana in the game.
Like I mentioned on the boards, he, because of his flight schedule, he was in for the banquet and then had to take off early in the morning on Saturday. So we really didn't get a chance to talk to him about the cards. But last year at the St. Louis Fan Fest that Herb Simmons runs, which by the way is this weekend in oh boy, it's in Illinois, just outside of St. Louis. I'm not going, but I know a lot of people are, so I think Barry's going. So check it out, support Herb. It's a fun thing. Anyways, uh, Jerry was there. I was kind of hosting a Trados table and had Jerry signing autographs for folks. And uh, Tito and Greg Valentine, they must have patched things up. They were sitting at the table right next to us. So I went and we talked to them and sometimes when guys there and see the Hall of Fame, see his official thing, and maybe meet Dan Gable, then they will sign and support it versus, us kind of saying, well, we're doing a fundraiser for this Hall of Fame that you've never seen before and have really no affiliation with. Um, and I got my newest Greg Valentine card signed at the same time, so he saw that too. So I think all those things added up. But I'm super excited to have him because when I started, when WWF kind of took the AWA slot after I got done being mad, Tito was the Intercontinental Champion and he was on TV and he was on it. Hogan wasn't on that much, but Tito was like the champion that you saw on TV. So he's always been a singles competitor to me. A lot of people are excited, oh, maybe we'll get Rick Martel someday, which of course I want. But to recreate Strike Force, but it's like, nah, I'm happy to have Tito as a singles. And I think certainly in your Fed and with kind of the era you run as well, I would see him fitting in there pretty good.
Yeah, it's funny because when I started doing my Golden State Wrestling Fed, which is my WWF style Fed, I was kind of like,
Hmm.
man, there's not enough WWF guys to when Legends first starting. I was like, there's not enough,
Right.
so I would bring in like the Midnight Express and
Hmm.
the Road Warriors and
Right.
I'm even yeah. Sabu and the Sandman. I would bring those guys
Hmm.
in because there weren't enough. And now it's like literally the last time I laid out all the cards and was looking at it, I was like, there's too many people here. Like I have to send the
great.
the bushwhackers out for a while, or
Right.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan's got to take a trip for a bit because now there's two, and because Ken Patera, Paul Orndorff, all these new cards that we've got, and now Tito Santana. So,
And a lot of those cards, can play either faces or heels.
right.
But Tito's a really strong face to bring into that coup. Whereas somebody like Piper or Orndorff or even Patera, you could turn, but Tito's pretty dyed-in-the-wool baby face.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not asking for spoilers. I'm just maybe you could talk around this. He was, as you said, he was a singles star. Would this card reflect, like being it's a singles card, but he'd be good as a tag team partner, or do you maybe see in the future there could be a dedicated tag team card?
If we ever signed, obviously, if we ever signed Rick Martel, I think a Rick Martel singles card would be different than a Rick Martel Strikeforce card. So then I could see maybe a case for a Tito Santana more Strikeforce specific card. His other tag team championship partner was Ivan Putski. They weren't doing a lot of high-end tag moves. So, if anything, though, this card is really kind of his prime, 85, 86. In Champions of the Galaxy, I would compare him to like a Lord Nexus, somebody who's good in singles, very good in singles, but they're also very capable in tag team matches.
Great. Yeah.
But there's, I'll spoil. There's not like any tag moves on this card.
Right. I just meant, like there's enough defensive tags and stuff where he's a good. Yeah. Excellent.
He'll do tag wrestler too. Yeah. So I think people love him. I saw people speculating about, who they want to team them up with if they do want to do a Tito specific tag team.
Yeah. Well, excellent. I'm super excited for this set. This set is going to be a lot of fun. And I'm talking generally here. We have 8 cards in this set. We know that Tito Santana has been announced, and we know that this question might not even be a good question to ask, but I'm going to ask it anyway, and maybe I'll edit it out. Has your favorite wrestler from this set? I'm not saying like your favorite wrestler is in this set, but out of the people who are in this set or Promoter Prime, would that have they been announced yet? Because there's only one announcement, and that's Tito Santana. Or is there someone who you're like, I can't wait for this person to be announced?
Actually, my favorite person in the set was announced yesterday, and that's Ken Resnick.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. I totally forgot. I totally forgot. Yes, you're correct. You're correct. Yeah.
So, Killer Ken Resnick, announcer in the AWA and in the WWF, will be in the set. I will spoil this. He will have a mustache from his days in the AWA.
Okay.
He's not the clean-shaven Ken Resnick. But, that's like asking me who my favorite kid is.
Who's your favorite kid?
Well, it depends on the day. So whichever one gives me the least grief that day. I would say there are a few people who are my favorite person in this set. And yesterday it was Tito Santana because we were all basking in the glory of having him signed. But, a couple weeks, I might be more excited about somebody else.
Excellent.
Usually when there's a set, there's not, unless we get a set with Rick Martel in it. I'm usually excited for a lot of people because I just go through my mind how they can all fit into, different promotions, who you can team them with. That's obviously it's easy to think of who you can team with historically, but, we only have half a strike force. So who could be our strike force? Who's Tito going to team with? I saw somebody put Marty Jannetty. I'm like, that's a great idea,
Yeah.
Different things like that. So not my favorite has been announced because I don't think I have one. But there's a lot of people I'm excited to have. Everybody in this I'm excited to have.
And so Ken Resnick, will it sort of be, maybe this is more spoiler stuff that you can't say, and that's fine to shut me down. Will that be like sort of a backstage interviewer, or maybe it was said yesterday, backstage interviewer, or will it be a ringside, or will it be like a chart we haven't seen before, like something completely new, or can you not say?
Um, honestly, I can't say because Corey made the stats and I don't remember.
Okay,
I mean, it's it's nothing. I don't think it's anything new. There might be some new mechanics we haven't done before, but it's not like a completely new chart or anything.
got it. All right. Well, we're very excited for this set. I know that I'm looking. I will order multiple copies as I always do. Uh, and now moving into the con exclusive cards, we had Totalia. This is the Champions
Yeah.
of the Galaxy one, who is a protege of Totalis,
Hmm.
because Totalis, I guess, could not wrestle in women's matches, so he found a protege that could. So what did you think of this card?
Yes. I thought this was really cool. I didn't know this card was coming out, and Todd had mentioned like the day before this is somebody he'd wanted to do for a long time. And I thought with today being May the 4th, there might be a Star Wars, like we might get a Wookiee wrestler or something. But it made sense, when he started going over the history of Tournament Master and, how many promotions and how many of the lines he's been in. I mean, really, other than Legends and Indies, I think he's been in every Fed. So, and I'm not advocating for no. Um, but I thought this was a cool twist on what Mercedes, Monet has done, winning all the belts, and she's got her two lackeys to carry them all. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I wonder if
Yeah,
there'll
I
be.
mean, what did you think?
I think it's good. I will say I don't know if it's a. I don't think I would be bringing her into Crime Stoppers, but definitely like
Right.
playing Chronos style or something. Like
Hmm.
bringing her in against other. Um, I'm trying to think of like Amazonia or whatever, and just see how
Right.
maybe do like a Legends Champions of the Galaxy Legendary Ladies type tournament and put her
Right.
in there because I'm sure she'll have some sort of tournament gimmick like Totalis does.
Right.
And just see how she fares against Thrash and Strafe and
Hmm.
all those folks. So yeah, I think it's a fun card for sure. I forgot to ask
And you.
yesterday, and looking at this card makes me think of it.
Hmm.
Was when I was opening this is just a weird tangent that has nothing to do with Road to Galacticon, but
That's fine.
ordering all those indie sets and looking through the indie
Hmm.
sets, there was a period where we were getting borderless cards. And they were mostly indies cards. There wasn't a Legends. I mean,
Mm.
the Legends artwork and the Champions of the Galaxy artwork in black and white kind of extended to the edge of the,
Right.
of the
Right.
card. But we were getting borderless cards really in indies. I don't really see it in other lines. You can
Hmm.
see where artwork is
Hmm.
connected, but there's always that border. And like the
Right.
the original Championship Wrestling from Hollywood set, the original CZW set, they didn't have backgrounds, but there wasn't a border. The artwork for the character
Hmm.
went off the bottom of the card. But then there were
Right. Right.
Chikara sets where, and I think the Dark Menace, whatever that like 6 pack of
Forces.
cards, Dark Menace
Yeah.
Forces was, his card was in the
Yeah.
middle, and you could put the rest of them around, and they made sort of like that image of the Dark
Oh.
Menace face. And so I was just,
Hmm.
I'm wondering if, I don't know, they're kind of cool. I'm wondering if we could bring back borderless
Hmm.
cards at some point. So you could have the tag team art that continues on the other card, but then, you know what I mean?
Right.
I,
Actually connects. Yeah.
yeah.
That would be cool. You know what, now that you mention, I do remember that in some of the indie sets. And I don't know, I'm assuming they're using the same printer and everything, and maybe it's just a preference, they experimented with. I was going through some old emails just the other day to see if I was trying to find all the indie books that had been emailed out. And there was, what was it? Oh, for the first Evolve set. And I think they maybe auctioned the prototype for this off at one of our auctions. There was a different background with the Evolve set,
Mm-hmm.
than what they ended up going with. And it was, I don't remember, it kind of looked different. And I don't know if that was borderless too. And then ultimate, there was this thread that I was on, and, Tom and Todd and everybody, and we were kind of talking about what that border looked like. So even though that didn't, and that background didn't really fit and didn't get used, maybe the borderless cards was just something else they were experimenting with, that Tom said, hey, let's do it with this line, and maybe I'll do it in Champions sometime.
Yeah. Somebody, when I brought that up in the Discord, somebody's like, oh, you should ask it at Road to GalactiCon, and I completely forgot. So, yeah, but it's just something I was thinking about. And like this card, I don't know, kind of lends it, like seeing this image without a border, you can really just see the full image. And so that's what made me think of it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's cool.
All right. So for the indies, was Mr. Iguana, super popular character. And here's the thing that I will say, and this is my geeky puppetry background coming in. Mr. Iguana's puppet is a Folk Manus puppet, and the Folk Manus company, they're a San Francisco Bay Area company, and that you can see their puppets in like Barnes and Noble and like fancy kids toy stores. They'll always have a rack of Folk Manus puppets. They're very sort of realistic looking, puppets. And there is sort of this thing in the puppetry world where, because like people have gone on to America's Got Talent and have brought a puppet, but it's a store-bought puppet that they had brought. And the creators of the puppet reach out and go, hey, you don't have a license to use our puppet on television. And not the Folk Manus company. The Folk Manus company, as far as I know, they don't do it. But it was just an interesting thing because I was like, oh, I wonder if, I mean, they must know that this wrestler, especially now, is using this puppet. And I wonder if they care or if eventually we'll hear something where it's like, oh, the Folk Manus company reached out to WWF and goes, hey, that's our intellectual property that you're selling on T-shirts or whatever, And I will say that this drawing looks nothing like the puppet, so we're all fine, as far as Phil Singer games. But I don't know, it's just a weird thing I thought of ever since I found out about Mr. Iguana, because I was like, that's a copyrighted that's a mass-produced copyrighted puppet. But it could also be that people are going to buy it, and the Folk Manus company is like, hey, we can't keep these things in stock. Let him keep bringing it on TV.
Right, exactly. I mean, publicity is good publicity, right?
Yeah.
When I was in San Antonio last week, we were walking along the river walk, and they had all sorts of stands and shops set up. And what caught my eye was, I'm like, oh, it's Kermit the Frog puppet, but I didn't notice it was definitely the Temu brand Kermit the Frog. Kermit was not looking well.
Yeah.
So, I don't know enough about puppets, but that's cool that you shared that and let us know. But yeah, I'm wondering if they're just like going, hey, go wild, or maybe they signed some kind of deal behind the scenes with them. Because Mr. Iguana, he hasn't been on WWE proper yet, right?
I think
he's only been on AAA. Oh, has he?
No,
okay.
I think because wasn't he in the
Royal Rumble?
I think he was in the Royal Rumble. I want to say or something like that.
Yeah, you're right. But I think he is a luchador.
Yeah.
Originally, right? That's where he's coming to us from. But okay.
Well, I'm excited for this card.
He's interesting to see.
He's somebody I might bring into Championship Wrestling from Hollywood just for fun, just to see what he does.
Oh yeah. I mean, why? Since he's so hot right now, why would you not bring him in with Danhausen?
Right, exactly.
Right? We have a Danhausen card out there.
Yep.
Or they could be maybe a good mid card opening card feud.
Yep. Yeah.
I could also see Santana Jackson getting involved with that. Some of the guys with the more kind of outlandish, fun gimmicks that are on the indie scene.
Yeah, absolutely. You could do Indies gimmick battle royal, and bring all these guys in.
Yeah,
and
I do remember earlier in the convention yesterday, somebody said, I hope it's not that effing iguana guy. I'm like, oh. And I texted Todd. I go, did you hear that? Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, whether or not you use him, it's very cool that he's in the game. And I
agree.
The thing like, you and I have talked before, I've been in a couple places where it never came to pass where I could talk to David Arquette, but it's like,
Mm-mm.
whatever you think of what he did in WCW, it would be very cool to have him in the game. Like that would be a cool card to
Yep.
put in. So, and I think the same thing with this one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have a Paul Walterhausen card, that came out in Indies Prime last year. That's cool. I mean, the purist in me is like, oh no, that's silly, but I mean, you think about all the celebrities involved now. What I like better is when they're reoccurring, like a Logan Paul,
Yeah.
not Jelly Roll.
Right.
Because Logan Paul has trained to become a wrestler. I don't like the idea that anybody can walk on off the street and become a professional wrestler. I think that's the meaning to the wrestlers.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I think David Arquette with his, what it was his last run or whatever he did, whatever that thing was called, he kind of proved that he was out there to really do it and
Oh,
really, you know,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, he got sliced up in some death matches and everything. Yeah, I had a lot of respect for him for doing that.
yeah.
Doubted his wisdom, but but yeah, he certainly earned it this last time. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. It would be cool to have David Arquette, even though I would never want to use the card.
Well,
Fair?
that is fair. That is fair. And the final con exclusive card, someone I know I have certainly wanted for
Hmm.
a super long time in color, and that is Cousin Luke.
Yep.
Super excited for this. I have been
Yeah.
slowly entering my Fed results into FG Assistant, just so I can use that as kind of a tracker of the
Hmm.
history of my Fed. And so the way you do that is you set up the matches and then you hit run and you stop it and then you enter in the results. It takes a second to do, but I had to
Oh, okay.
scan in my Cousin Luke
Okay.
card, the black and white one, but now
Hmm.
I can switch him over to the color one, and I'm super excited about that.
There you go. There you go. So yeah, I mean, people have wanted him for a while. Poor Hillbilly Jim. He's been, you know, even though he's doing well in the tournament, he doesn't have any of his kinfolk. So now he's got somebody else. And maybe someday we can try to get, I guess, no pun intended, the white whale and try to sign Uncle Elmer or something. So you have all six of them in there.
Yeah,
Um, but now you got Hillbilly Jim and Cousin Luke, so they can do that match from. They can do part of the match from Saturday Night's Main Event, where Cowboy Bob and Roddy Piper. You're missing Uncle Elmer and Jesse from that 6 man, but you can still do a little feud that way.
yeah, yeah. Well, this is super exciting, and it's yeah, kind of one of those things where it's like, because I know there's some wrestlers who have black and white cards where it's like, well, we don't know if Filsinger Games could release them, and I'm not asking for any spoilers or
Yeah,
anything like that. And so it was like, with this one, it was like, oh, I wonder if this is somebody who can't be released, but
yeah,
here he is, and so very exciting.
yeah. He had been somebody we had talked about putting into Prime even last year, and just different things. I don't. Well, maybe it's what we might have been doing him for a first cycle prime. Then we're going to put Giant Baba in instead.
Right.
So he might have got bumped by Giant Baba.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but I know he had been on the block for a while. And yeah, there's obvious people that maybe they're not being released because whatever there's concerns, and that's not my cup of tea. It's Tom's game. But there's other guys like this, or I really want to get PN News. I mean, we will get him in sometime, because he's just a fun guy to have, right? And you can,
Yeah.
team him and Too Cold Scorpio up, and you got your rap tag team and stuff. I mean, that's just fun to have for your cards. So, all we're not intentionally leaving out anybody from Black and White that we can't do for any other reasons. We'll get to them.
Yeah.
And I kind of held Mike up on the air in the virtual con and said, "Hey, how about we do a third cycle vote?" Which I asked him a couple of times because I like having, not that it doesn't matter to me, but I want fans to be active as much as they can, in deciding how we put the sets together. So, having them do the third cycle of Pro Prime this year, that's a pretty easy thing to do. put out
Yeah.
some guys, but I definitely want to put PN News on there. And I also need to figure out who we put out before who's never been brought in yet, on one of those votes. Make sure they're represented as well.
Well,
So
I know he would not win the vote because he always loses, but I would love Mr. X because Mr. X is somebody I use all the time. You know,
you know
in
that's kind of
back then
funny
too.
because obviously the Mr. X in black and white isn't any particular Mr. X. He's not Danny Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I I mean, when he first came out, some people were mad that it wasn't like, which Mr. X is this? It's like, well, the gimmick was kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
You had a bunch of assassins, a bunch of Mr. X's. So I didn't honestly think people wanted to color one of him. So that's good to
Oh,
know.
I do. I would. And I had
Yes,
Danny
yeah.
Davis.
Well, we got one vote already. Yeah.
I had Danny Davis sign the Mr. X, the black and white Mr. X card years and years ago. And he was like, whoa, look at this. This is awesome. Like he was totally into it. He thought it was like fantastic.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, look at this guy. He's like, all right, yeah. Also, and he signed it Mr. X. It was really, really great. So
that's an auction worthy. That would fetch a high dollar, I think.
Oh, no. I'm keeping that one.
Because yeah, no, but I mean that wasn't based on a Danny Davis Mr. X drawing even.
Yeah.
His bodysuit didn't look anything like what he wore, but that's cool. Yeah, I like the Mr. X just because obviously it was a character and a motif that you have in a lot of promotions. And also, in like Tim's WWF set and Pete Fusco's Crockett sets, you use the Mr. X character for a whole variety of the prelim guys of those different eras. And I think that's a cool way to do things.
Yeah. And I know now we're so fortunate that we have a lot of wrestlers who are signed that can fill that Mr. X role. If like the preliminary, someone who could, who's probably going to lose, not all the time, but probably going to lose.
Right.
And so I know we have like a plethora of people we can use for that, but I don't know. I'll always vote for Mr. X. I will say that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you watch old WWF stuff too, and for a while, for a couple tapings in '85, they have a mask guy called the Gladiator. Who is it? Nobody knows. But those are just always the fun mask guys.
Yeah. Well, the one thing before we wrap up here, I would just love to talk too about because it was part of the event. Is the interview with Werner, because I thought that was a lot of fun. And I liked the kind of flashback of his whole history, of all his, and you could see how his art just, his art was always great, but just how great it became.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. I've never met Werner. I was not at the GalactiCon that he attended. And so just having that interaction and hearing his story and how his mom was a wrestling fan, and that's kind of how he, slid into it was pretty cool. I thought it was interesting too how he said he has trouble with Champions of the Galaxy characters. He finds it easier to draw legends because I think, with a legends guy, no matter who the artist is, you can be like, based on your memory, oh, that's a good likeness, or maybe not. But like, because with me, Champions of the Galaxy characters are kind of like, it's all up in the air, unless it's like a really bad one, which I don't think Warner's done. I think he does great Champions of the Galaxy style characters.
Yeah.
There's a few from maybe the early CPC era that Warner did not do, but some of those artists I did not care for. Right.
Right.
But Warner's, and especially with the GWFZ, I mean, my God, the hundreds of characters he designed for that, with Rob kind of feeding him ideas and stuff. I mean, that stuff was all super cool.
Yeah. 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 He's a good guy. And I know he mentioned it, but when we went to that, whatever that Cow Palace wrestling convention thing was, that was a disaster. But like, we still laugh about how, it was a great time. And I think that was one of the first times I ever played Champions of the Galaxy with somebody. or played the game with somebody. You know, that wasn't like, hey, come try this game. It was like another fan who I didn't have to explain how it worked. And so Werner is a fantastic guy. And I think, you know, I'm glad that they showed that George the Animal Steel artwork, because I think that's really one of his, like, the detail on that is one of his best pieces of art. I mean, you know, everybody I'm sure has different favorites. That's just one of mine. And, you know, the Bruno Sammartino artwork I think is great. But yeah, and it was just great to see him sort of recognized, because I don't know. I think everybody uses him and he's amazing and he does great, but it's good to see him get the props he deserves.
Oh, I mean, yeah, Todd said it, but like, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking this has to be true. Yeah, he's the most prolific artist in Phil Singer Games history.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just thinking official cards. You think of all the bootleg sets, you know, some of the ones I may have been involved with. You know, I mean, all the bootlegs he's drawn for so many people.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be over 1,000.
Oh,
right. I
easily.
mean, he's done the entire Legends color line, and that's, I think we're up to 300 and some cards.
Yeah.
And you know, throw in GWFZ and Promoter Madness, I mean, that probably get you close to 800 right there total between the two.
Yeah, he might be close to like 1,500 or heading his way towards 2,000. You know.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
there you go. That could be your next. That could be your next tracking project. Is every Warner drawing, so then we can figure out who orders the 2,000th character.
All right. Well, I gotta finish. Legends and Champions of the Galaxy, which will be much easier than the Indies one for me. But there you go. Well, Chad, thank you so much for coming up with this idea. Maybe we'll do it after, because you'll be at East Coast GalactiCon, so maybe we could get together after the East Coast West Coast GalactiCon and do individual wrap-ups.
Yeah, that would be super cool. Yeah, oddly enough, I happen to have a conference out that way, so I'm gonna swing by. Pete Beck is gonna fetch me at the DC airport, take me to GalactiCon, and then drop me back off. So, because otherwise, I told you, I'm like, it's actually easier for me to get to Burbank than it is to get out there. So I would have just hopped on that flight and came out and see you. But maybe we'll do that next year.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chad. Thanks for being here. Everyone, check out the Uncharted Territory podcast. There'll be a link to it in the show notes for this. But thank you so much for being here.
All right. Thank you, Grant.